I remember my parents threw me an 18th birthday and a bunch of people at our house, and we lived in Orlando at the time, and my birthday is January 19th, okay? So right in the midst of playoff season, and the Eagles had lost 2 NFC championships in a row, and they were playing the Carolina Panthers, and we lost another NFC championship. And I was very annoyed at the Eagles that we lost again, and so I went upstairs and I grabbed all my Eagle stuff and I put it in the fireplace. I was so mad. They ruined my birthday for the 3rd year in a row. And at that point, I didn't light it on fire because honestly, the fireplace that we lived in Florida, it didn't even really work. But anyway, but I had to make a show of how upset I was because I was really going to tell them, you know. And anyway, but I was a little bit hard to love after that. Like, I was not very happy the rest of the day. It was not an enjoyable singing of the birthday cake. I was just not very pleased. And I don't know if there's anybody like that where you're a little bit hard to love. You're a little bit hard to celebrate. Anybody like that? Some people are easy to love. They're easy to celebrate. They receive it. They take it gracefully. There's other people that, man, we love you and you're just so difficult. Know anybody like that? There are people that no matter what someone does for you or is willing to do for you, what they offer you, how much they love you, you have an unbreakable shell that doesn't let them in. And this goes for Jesus' love for you as well. I would just say that today, it's time for you to be healed. If you're hard to love, I want to help you walk in healing today. I want you to make a choice. I wouldn't say that this is going to be the most encouraging sermon you've ever heard, but I do think it's going to challenge you and convict you, and forgive me, I'm going to get in your face today. So I want to preach a message titled, Hard to Love. Hard to Love. I'm going to go to Luke chapter 10. Verse 38, let's read. As Jesus and the disciples continued on their way to Jerusalem, they came to a certain village where a woman named Martha welcomed him into her home. Her sister Mary sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he taught. Verse 40, we're going to derive most of our message today from verse 40. But Martha was distracted by the big dinner she was preparing. She came to Jesus and said, Lord, doesn't it seem unfair to you that my sister just sits here while I do all the work? Tell her to come and help me. Anybody know any Marthas? Anybody know any Marys? What's happening here is this occurrence is during Jesus' ministry as he travels toward Jerusalem. So it's a journey that begins in Luke 9 and it goes all the way through Luke 19. But here's what you need to know. In first century Jewish culture, hospitality was sacred. Okay? It was sacred. Especially towards traveling rabbis like Jesus. So Martha's act of opening her home, it aligns with the custom of having dramatic hospitality. It also suggests that she would be, or those who lead their households or the women of the household would live in a way that they would expect guests to show up maybe whenever. Jesus also probably was not showing up with himself and an armor bearer or a sword bearer. Jesus probably had a lot of people with him. So I think it's fair for Martha to be a little bit overwhelmed at the arrival of somebody special. I want you to go back to verse 40 for a second. I'm going to read this part. The Bible says, but Martha was distracted by the big dinner she was preparing. Now, what we read there is Mary is sitting at Jesus' feet. Martha is distracted. And Jesus is coming there to pour his love on them, to teach them. And Martha is just too busy to be loved right now. And there are people here, you're very difficult to love because simply you're too busy. You're too busy. Now, Martha was not doing anything wrong necessarily, but she was distracted. Love felt hard to receive because her soul was divided with work and serving. Now, I don't know if you know anybody who is a perfectionist or who has a passion for excellence. I love people like this. If I'm trying to hang out with somebody, I would rather hang with Martha than Mary. I get frustrated by lazy people. I'm not saying Mary was lazy. I'm just saying, in general, I would rather be around somebody who's driven, who's hungry, who's passionate, who wants excellence, who's ready to host, who's ready to get to work. I like those people. I don't always do well with folks who are just la-di-da. We'll see what happens. I'll just go with the flow. Sometimes I need those folks, but I don't always like those folks. I get annoyed sometimes by those folks. What do you mean it's 11 a.m. and you just got up? No Martha, no food. No Martha, no scriptures or lyrics on the screen. No Martha, no security. No Martha, no impact. Without Marthas, you really only have computer warriors who dream and pontificate but never get anything done. Martha is not necessarily doing anything wrong. A meal probably needed to be prepared. But there's something more going on with Martha, and we have to see beyond just what we read. In the Greek, the word distracted could also be troubled. To be troubled, this Greek word would be to be anxious or pulled apart. In other words, Martha was too busy to be loved or loved on by Jesus because she was actually not just busy, she was troubled. And Jesus' rebuke to her was not about serving, it was about the anxiety she was feeling while she was serving. Are you following me? See, there's a difference, listen to me, there's a difference between living full lives and living busy lives. Full people have a lot of purpose and meaning to attend to. Busy people have a lot of things on their plate and minds without a lot of meaning. People tend to stay busy because they're troubled. There are people who, they're very full, they're very scheduled, they're very organized, they've got a lot going on, but they prioritize or they make space for the things that matter most. In all of our work, in all of our life, I hate to break this to you, you're gonna have to do certain things that you don't wanna do. Some people haven't learned that yet. There might be a generation of people who are seeking jobs and think that the entire job has things in it that you like to do the entire time. So I just wanna help everybody today that it's possible. It's possible. Maybe a small portion of your job, you might have to do something you don't love to do. God bless you, grow up. Okay, there might be a part of marriage that there's things that you don't like to do or participate in. That's part of life. Okay, so I'm not saying that full people who live full lives, I'm not saying that they only do things they love, but the majority or the main or the intentionality of what they do is full of purpose. People who are busy, who fill their schedule with stuff and errands and running around and work and hangs, and they don't create margin. They don't know how to create margin in their life. They're doing a lot of things, but not with a lot of purpose. They're going 1,000,000 miles a minute, but they're going in circles rather than going in a direction. Busy people often, I'm not saying all, but most of the times, busy people are troubled. Busy people are troubled because they're striving. They have identity issues. They have to prove themselves. They're always behind. They don't want to deal with hurt or with silence or with stillness. Busy people get anxious when they slow down. They are afraid that time is super short and they have to fill every section. There is no real direction. There's a fear of man. There's shame. There's a poverty mentality. They're easily distracted. Busy people often are troubled. So the question is serving and his activity wrong? No. Did someone need to make the food? Yes. But are there ways to do both? Probably. And what Jesus was explaining to Martha was, Martha, priorities. Priorities. Everybody say that, priorities. See, you can live a very full life and accomplish a lot and still have margin if you know how to prioritize. We need to stop living busy lives, start living full lives, and know when to say no and know when to say yes. Know when to say when, and know when to say wrong. See, Martha was troubled because she didn't have margin. Her priorities were not in the right place. And Jesus says in Matthew 6:33, he says, seek the kingdom of God above all else and live righteously, and he will give you everything you need. John 6:35 says this, Jesus replied, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never be hungry again. Whoever believes in me will never be thirsty. I bet you Mary, sitting at the feet of Jesus, listening to him teach, was being full more than food could fill her. And what Jesus is saying is, and what he's illuminating is, Martha, I appreciate your desire to cook, but really what you need right now is to sit at my feet and let me do the cooking. Let me do the feeding. I'm the bread of life. You can't fill me enough. It is I who fills you. It is I who sustains you. See, if you don't sit at Jesus' feet, you will burn out and you will be angry. What we're seeing here is Martha burning out and redlining. And this, my friends, listen to me, is why so many people quit serving in church. This tends to be the journey or the cycle for many folks. Someone comes into the house of God, they feel the presence of God, they respond, they say, I want to give my life to Jesus. They may go into a baptism tank, which, by the way, congratulations to the 143 people who got baptized last week. Amazing. Go into a tank and then plug in. They start serving God in his church, serving on a team, leading a group, whatever it is, participating in the things of God. And what ends up happening is we get excited about serving God, and we should. We get excited about connecting with God's people, and we should. But in doing all this, sometimes we get so busy doing stuff that we don't sit at Jesus' feet. And 6 months or 12 months or 18 months later, we're redlining, we're burning out because we're doing stuff just to do stuff, not from the place of Jesus feeding us the bread of life. To live sustainably full and productive in this life, you have to come back to center. You have to learn to be still and seek Jesus first. Why? Because Jesus will feed you. Jesus will fill you. Jesus will heal you. Jesus will speak to you. Jesus will sustain you. Jesus will make you whole. Jesus will provide for you. Jesus will make a way for you. I want to be clear about something. This moment with Martha was not about needing a Sabbath or a vacation, although she probably needed a day off. And a day off should be part of your rhythm. We can address that another time. But that's not what this was about. I think also a lot of people think that, man, I need a sabbatical from doing stuff. I need a long break. And I'm not saying that there's not a time and a place for that. But a lot of times the break you need is simply to get with God. And that will then bring purpose again to the things you do. Vacations are good. A Sabbath is necessary. The Sabbath was not made for God, it was made for you. Rest, recover, but what you need is to eat from God's hands so that you can then give yourself away. Part of Martha being troubled is, I think, as I read this and as I consider the layers in this text, is I think Martha, she was busy because she had a pride problem. She had a pride issue. Look again at verse 40. Look again. She came to Jesus and she said, Lord, doesn't it seem unfair? Look at it again. She comes to Jesus, right? So she's going crazy. She's banging pots and pans. You know somebody like that. It's 5 a.m. You're still asleep. And you know who I'm talking about. And so she comes to Jesus, but Jesus probably met her halfway. He's trying to teach, and stuff is breaking. And she's like, Lord, this does not seem fair. When you use the language unfair, when that starts to flow out of your mouth, you have to dive deep into your heart and understand the root of why you feel this way. Why do you feel there's an injustice towards you? Why? The reason that you're hard to love is probably because you're too busy, but it's probably also because you're too prideful. You're hard to love because you're too prideful. It's very difficult to love somebody who is a constant victim. One time, you get some compassion. A second time, you get compassion with a head tilt. Third time, you're the problem. And if after the third time you don't realize that they're the problem, you're so naive that you're going to become the problem. See, pride can be something that builds up or takes root in you from different experiences, hurts, successes, even passed down from the family tree. Inherently, we are born into sin. We're all prideful, but we have to fight it. It's just that some have more experience or have lost enough or know how to lay before Jesus that he's killed enough pride that you're functional and somebody can love you. Pride is why Lucifer and many angels fell, hence we have the devil. Pride is why Adam and Eve chose to be their own gods and got kicked out of paradise, and you and I are paying the price for it. Pride is why many of the religious leaders of the day missed their Messiah, even though they could see him with their own eyes. Pride is why your marriage is in trouble. Pride is why you can't keep a job. Pride is why you stay stuck in poverty. Pride is why you don't have friends or you don't have rich community. Pride is why you don't take risks. Pride is why you blame everyone else or never take responsibility for your own stinky stuff. Pride is why God can't raise you up and you keep staying low. Pride is literally killing you and making you hard to love. And pride is why Martha's missing the point. See, there are many people who become crabby and irritable in their service for the Lord, like Martha. and go, it's easy to look at all we do and to criticize those who don't seem to do as much. But Martha's real problem wasn't Mary. Martha's problem was Martha. And that's what prideful people do. It's very rarely take an inventory on themselves and go, they're the problem, they're the issue, they're the problem, they're causing this, they're creating, this is unfair to me, I hate everybody. And I think it's fine for you to process. I think it's healthy for you to get it out in a safe place. And it's also true that Mary could have issues. And the disciples could have issues. It's also true that your coworkers might just absolutely be terrible. It's possible that your boss is an awful person unless you work here. Impossible. It's possible that your spouse does have serious issues. It's possible that your siblings are crazy. It's possible that your friends are toxic. It's possible. And there is a time and a place to address problems with other people. This was not the moment for Martha and Mary to have a fight. What is important for all of us when we find ourselves in unfair situations, whether Mary was being unfair to Martha, whether there was an injustice, whatever it is important for mature people, for godly people to go, what's the problem in me first? I have a high justice recoil. I want things to be right. I want bad people to pay. I want there to be justice until I need grace and mercy. I also at times, and I've gotten a lot better at this over the years. A lot of friends have helped me with this, but I would have a chip on my shoulder. One thing is good, one thing is not good. Desiring biblical justice and righteousness because God desires that is healthy. Rights to be wrong, accountability for the unjust, protection for children and women, all of that is good and godly. But when you mix that with a chip on your shoulder and that everything is unfair, everything is broken, and everyone is against me, well, this is a recipe for high pride and self-wreckage. No one will ever satisfy you when you are in this place. No one can ever fix anything for you. If there's progress, you can't see it. When you are a perpetual victim, when you are continually declaring that it's all unfair, there is nothing anyone can do for you. It's a pride issue. And Ephesians 4:24 says this. This is what Paul encourages. And to put on the new self, created to be like God in true righteousness and holiness. In other words, friends, I'm not saying unfair things don't happen. But in addition to this, you are also the righteousness of Christ. In addition to this, you have been given a new nature. In addition to this, you are a new creation. In addition to this, guess what? You are a child of the living God. In addition to this, there is literally royalty in your bloodline. In addition to this, God can raise you up when you humble yourself. In addition to this, God can get you out of your circumstance. God can break things that have happened. God can advance you. God can promote you. God can use you. It doesn't matter what's happening in the world around you. But you have to put on the new creation. You have to stop being a victim full of pride. We do this by listening to others and being open to constructive criticism, by staying prayerful and grace-filled, by always remembering how badly you needed mercy and where God brought you from, and looking within and evaluating yourself first before addressing others. And I'm not hating on Martha because it wasn't just Martha plagued with pride. Peter was plagued with pride too. Paul had to rip him a new one right in front of everybody. But I want to go to John 13:4-8 for a second. This is literally one of the most important moments in the history of Jesus' life and ministry. Here he is about to wash the disciples' feet. So he got up from the table, took off his robe, wrapped a towel around his waist, poured water into a basin. Then he began to wash the disciples' feet, drying them with the towel he had around him. When Jesus came to Simon Peter, Peter said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus replied, "You don't understand now what I'm doing, but someday you will." And Peter's response, verse 8, "No." Peter protested. He protested. "You will never, ever wash my feet." Jesus replied, "Unless I wash you, you won't belong to me." See, Peter refused. He said, "You'll never wash my feet." Sometimes it is hard to be loved because humility is hard. But what does James 4:6 says? It says, God gives grace to the humble. Listen to me, sometimes the hardest thing is letting God stoop low enough to serve you. There are people here, there are people that are waiting with their arms open in a block group that you need to sign up for. Their arms are open, they are waiting to serve you. And in turn, at some point for you to serve others. But it takes humility. See, prideful people are insecure people. To break your pride, go get into somebody else's mess. Or let somebody else into yours. Be raw, be authentic. Go to a block group. Get in an environment that makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable and forces you out of your comfort zone and break your pride. Going back to verse 40. Martha says to Jesus, "Tell her to come and help me." Look at this. So we've got Martha who's too busy to be loved. She's too prideful to be loved. And then she says to Jesus, who has to come and have a mediating conversation with her, and she says, "Hey, Jesus, tell her to come help me." A few thoughts here, okay? Just a few thoughts. Why couldn't Martha just ask Mary herself? Why were they not prepared for Jesus ahead of time? Now, this is a very practical thing for a second. I want to pause here. I want to help some of you, okay? There's no scriptural proof that they knew Jesus was coming, but there's no scriptural proof that they didn't know Jesus was coming. Most of these women, particularly Martha, who was the head of the household when it came to the work of the women, they should have been or would have been prepared for traveling people. And because hospitality was of such high regard in that day, there was a level of preparation they should have always had. Can I just encourage you in your life, listen to me, in your life, you need to constantly and always try to be prepared in your finances for trouble and challenges. It's not everybody else's fault. In your life, you should be prepared and create some margin in your life for things that happen. You know things are coming up. Guess what? You know what I love about the calendar? Every year, every 12 months, something is going to happen that I already knew was going to happen. I already know Christmas is coming, and my wife is going to drive me insane. We need this, the kids need that, my parents need this, your parents need that, everybody needs this, Pastor Derek needs this. It's always Pastor Derek needs this, Pastor Derek needs that. But guess what? I had all year to prepare for whatever need Pastor Derek had. So it's my fault when I'm not prepared. I know life is full of surprises. They are, and I'm trying to be practical with you. Life is full of surprises. The best you can, create margin in your life. And you'll be less stressed when it comes time for an important moment. And I've learned that most important moments in life aren't planned for. Sometimes they happen. Are you prepared for them? You're hosting, Martha, you're hosting the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the creator of the universe. Dude, this guy is touching people and their eyes are being opened. I don't know about you, but I'm not trying to be in the kitchen when I can get my breakthrough by sitting at his feet. Guys, love you. Here's what's going to happen. We're having sandwiches today, and we're going to take a break, and we'll figure out something hot. I don't know. I'm not missing Jesus. But I want to go back to the point. Tell her to come and help me. Why wouldn't she just ask Mary herself? Why weren't they prepared? It seems last minute. I hate last minute. Maybe Jesus surprised them. I don't know. But here's what I'm seeing. Martha is passive aggressive. And there's nobody worse. Jesus, hey, this is what you're going to ask Jesus? Dude, what? This is what you're choosing to ask Jesus? Like, I used to ask Jesus to kill people off. And I'm like, that feels like a wasted prayer. It's like maybe I should spend my opportunity with Jesus Christ not asking him to go get Mary. But can you get whatever's going on in me out of here? Watch this, verse 41. But the Lord said to her, my dear Martha, he loves her. You're worried and upset over all these details, but there's only one thing worth being concerned about. Mary has discovered it, and it will not be taken away from her. Why is Martha so bent out of shape? It's because she's too broken to receive Jesus' love. The reason why some of you are so hard to love is because you're too busy, you're too prideful, and you're too broken. And right here, we are seeing a sure sign of emotional brokenness. When you are perpetually, I'm not saying all the time because all of us have moments of weakness, but when you are consistently passive aggressive, you're broken. That's brokenness. That is a trait that you acquired somewhere. You were taught that. It was ingrained in you. It's sin. See, she made a choice to stay busy. She made a choice to stay frustrated. She made a choice to complain. She made a choice not to confront the issue. She made a choice not to ask for help from the only other person who can help her. I wonder if she would ask Jesus, hey, can you just multiply the stew quick? She made a choice not to be prepared ahead of time. She's bent out of shape and she's not enjoying the main event. Do you know anyone who's so broken that it doesn't matter what you do for them? They gain the world, they make all the money, they have the relationship. You can throw them a party, you can love them well, on and on and on. It's never enough. It doesn't last. It doesn't heal them. Do you know anyone in your life where it's never enough? If you know someone, if you are married to someone, if you are dating someone, if you are friends with someone, if you work with someone, if you are that someone where it's never enough, there's brokenness. I'm not saying you shouldn't be driven and hungry. I'm not saying that you shouldn't desire to get better. There's a difference. I am content. I am grateful. I can celebrate the moment. I can thank the Lord. Then I go to sleep. Then I get up and I fight for the next level. But if you can't celebrate, if you can't just rest and be easy, if it's never enough, you're broken. Brokenness, listen to me, brokenness can only be broken through brokenness. In other words, when you're finally tired of being broken, you offer your brokenness to Jesus, his way, then only can you be healed. I know I'm going over But I want to read this to you, John 5, 6 through 7. It's a story of so many people here today, a crippled man near the healing water. Watch this. When Jesus saw him and knew he had been ill for a long time, he asked him, "Would you like to get well?" "I can't, sir," the sick man said, "for I have no one to put me into the pool when the waters bubble up. Someone else always gets there ahead of me." Almost 40 years lying broken, defined by failure, disappointment, self-pity, sabotage. And when he's asked if he wants healing, he says, "I can't." As if your healing is on you. His answer wasn't faith, it was hopelessness. And sometimes brokenness becomes such a part of us that we reject the very love that can heal us. Did you hear what I said? Sometimes brokenness is so ingrained in us, it's such a part of us that when somebody or when Jesus tries to love you and heal you, you reject it. Because you're more comfortable in the marriage you have with your brokenness than the freedom you've been promised by your Savior. We think it's too late. We think it's too hard. We think I can't change. But Jesus shows up. He looks us in the eyes and he asks, "Do you want to be well?" There's only one thing missing. And it's not doing more and gaining more and getting more. There's only one thing missing. It's not trying harder. It's not any of those things. It's not more money. It's not more romance. It's not more expansion. There's only one thing that makes you well, and it's literally getting on your knees and your face and saying, "Jesus, heal me, be enough."